Hi, 8th grade. Today we are moving on to the last lesson in chapter 11, which means that today is the last day of instruction. Next week we will quiz on lessons 7 and 8, and then we will do the chapter review, then we will do a practice test, and then we will test, and you guys are done with algebra for the year. So let's take a look at today's lesson, rational equations. Before we start, a quick reminder. When you have two fractions set equal to each other, you can cross multiply. Okay? So if you have 4/7 and 8 over q, you would cross multiply so that it's 4 times q and 7 times 8. 4q equals 56, divide by 4 on the left, keep it fair, right? Remember that twin rule, divide by 4 on the right, and you end up with 14. Keep that fresh in your mind. We are going to be using that today. Our skill today is to solve each equation and to state any extraneous solutions. So this fancy word is basically, remember earlier, not too long ago, we would solve equations, right? We were working on rational expressions and rational equations that we had an excluded solution, right? When the denominator was equal to 0, and we wrote that like n can't be 7, right? N can't be 7, because if 7 is subbed in for n, the denominator would fall to 0, and so it wouldn't work. So that's what this means, right? That's what this means. For some reason, I'm a little close. Sorry, let me back it up a little bit. You can get the whole page. Okay. So we're going to do some examples. We're actually going to do a lot of examples. I hope that you're ready. We're also going to do some U-tries. So let's start. First example. This is in your books, actually. It's number 1 on page 730, in case you want to follow along. So here we have two fractions equal to each other, so I'm going to cross multiply to solve, which means I'm going to have 2x is equal to 4 times x plus 1. So then I distribute the 4, and I get 2x equals 4x plus 4. So then I combine. I'm going to move this over to keep my x's positive. So that means I'm going to have 2x on the right, which means I have to move the number over. So I have a negative 4 on the left. So I divide by 2 to get the variable alone. And I get x equals negative 4 divided by 2, negative 2. These didn't have a common denominator, so there is no extraneous solution I need to worry about, right? Because they're different. When they're the same is when that will apply. All right, so let's do a U-try. We're going to do number 2 on the same page, 730. And it looks like t plus 3 over 5 is equal to 2t plus 3 over 9. This is a U-try. I'm going to do them all on this page. And I'm going to solve them quietly while you're trying on your own. ahead and pause it if you're not finished. You should get that t is equal to 12. And again, we didn't have any variables in the denominator, so we don't need to worry about it, okay? The extraneous solutions. All right, we're gonna continue on. Example, this is our third problem, and it's also number 3 in the book, but it's our second example. So here, we're not set up to solve with cross multiplication because we don't have just two fractions equal to each other. We have a left side that needs work. We can't combine them because they don't have a common denominator. So what we're going to do is we're going to find that common denominator. In your book, they refer to it as the LCD. And they want to find the least common denominator. So we want whatever it is that they have in common, we want to combine them. So looking at this particular example, we have an A here and we have a 5A here. And we know from previous lessons, all we're going to have to do is multiply this by a 5 in order to get that common denominator. Instead of doing that today, we're going to take the LCD and put that on the outside. The goal is to try to remove the denominator completely, okay? So if I do that, if I know that the denominator is 5a, when I multiply that by a plus 3 over a minus 6 over 5a, whatever I do to the left side, I have to do to the right. So that means over here, I'm also going to have to multiply by 5a. Not sure if I left myself enough room. So this will be distributed to each of the, on the left, each of the fractions, right? So when I multiply here, the a's cancel out and I'm left with just a 5. So I have 5 times a plus 3. No denominator. The denominator's gone. When I multiply it by my second fraction, I have a 5a on the bottom and a 5a to be multiplied, so that cancels out completely, and I'm just left with minus 6. On the right, I have 5a over a, which is just 5. Now I'm going to distribute, so I have 5a plus 15 minus 6 equals 5. 15 minus 6 is 9. 5a plus 9 equals 5. I'm going to move it over here. Minus 9 leaves me with 5a equal to 4, negative 4. And then I divide by 5. And I get a equals negative 4/5. Okay? Make sure you get that in your notes. And we're going to do another you try. Here's your next one. It is number